Okay, good morning. So today we'll be talking about one of the most important topics, both from the exam perspective and the real life. And it's a big topic. It's a topic by itself, and you'll be able to use this service without having to use any other AWS services. So that is called S3, Simple Storage Service. There are three S's, that's why they call it S3. So what is Simple Storage Service? As the name says, it's just a storage service on the cloud, but it's an object storage service. And I want you to understand, so far we talked about block stores. So we talked about EBS, we talked about EFS, not EFS, not really, but EBS mainly, right? So we talked about EBS, instance store volumes, how they get attached to the EC2 instance and all. So the difference between block store and object store is that in block store, it's a raw blocks where you can install anything. You can install, you can format and install an operating system on it. Okay, you can install a database on it. But object store is nothing but a simple storage out there on the cloud, like an external hard drive where you can store your documents, your photos, videos, any other documents for your web application. Let's say you're working for a bank and you generate statements for all of your customers and you store them for, let's say, 6 months. So you generate those PDFs and store them in S3 as an external drive. So you may be wondering, okay, then we talked about so far EBS. Okay, if you have an EC2 instance running, and why don't we store it in an EBS volume? Or there is something else called EFS, Elastic File Store. So EBS, you'll have one volume attached to an EC2, and EFS, you can attach this Elastic file service across all the fleet of EC2 instances. But why do we need this one? Well, this one it's not just for EC2. In fact, you do not have to use any of the AWS services. Maybe you use your compute. You can use your own compute from your own data center, but you can safely use S3 as the object storage service. So you're not using any of the other services. You have your own services. You are working for a bank and you generate a lot of PDFs. There's statements, monthly statements or weekly statement. And you generate those PDFs and you wanted to store them securely somewhere in the cloud. You can safely use it without having to use any of the services. You can use your own compute. The beauty is this S3 provides the most resilient REST APIs. So you'll be able to store these documents or retrieve these documents using REST APIs. So you can write code. You can use your own code to upload the documents into S3. Or you can write code to retrieve the documents from S3. So that's the beauty of it. So you do not have to use any other AWS services. It's not just for EC2. It can be for anyone. So that's object storage service. That's S3, and the beauty is it's highly available and scalable. It will automatically scale. So you can, it just magically grows. You are not attaching a 50 gig hard drive like your EBS volumes where you are stuck. Pretty much you'll have to manually expand it. But here you have an infinite store And magically it keeps growing and you pay for what you use. If you're using 5 gig, you'll be paying for 5 gig. If you're using 5 petabytes, you'll be paying for 5 petabytes. And it's a highly available. So it redundantly stores across multiple availability zones under the hood. That is why it's highly available. Even if one availability zone is down, in some cases you will see, even if 2 availability zones are down, your data is still available for you to read or write. But when it comes to durability meaning, is it possible for me to lose a file in the cloud when I put it in S3? So it's Amazon guarantees this 99.9999 11 nines. So we have nine nines after dot and 2 nines before. So total, they call it 11 nines. 11 nines durability is provided for S3. And for compute and other services, you may be using other cloud vendors, public cloud providers, but some people, they use S3 as the storage service. S3 is one of the oldest storage services out there. Amazon actually started with a service called SQS, Simple Queue Service. Okay. After that, eventually they got this S3. So S3 is definitely one of the oldest services out there. Not just from Amazon, even from, compared to other cloud providers. So it's a highly available, scalable, and durable. That's the beauty with it. Please understand the difference between all three. Yeah. So for your data loss, one file, so 99.99, total 11 nines, right? You know what it means? You might lose a file maybe for 1 in 100 billion files, but even that you don't lose it. So they can't put 100% there, right? For SLA perspective, they're giving you that SLA, service level agreement. They're kind of signing it. You'll never lose it. So you can use S3 for your various applications, for your web applications, mobile applications, storing your documents, PDFs, pictures, videos. You can use for your household applications. You can write a simple dynamic-based a website using, let's say I'm just throwing up there, using an Angular front end, and in the back end, you're using, let's say, Java or C# based RESTful APIs. Okay, you build your own photo or video stores and then store all the photos and videos in S3. Make sense? And all of your application needs, your web applications, mobile applications, all of them, there's so many use cases that you can use S3 for. It's a document store, object store. I mean, it doesn't have to be a specific type of document. Okay, so the beauty with S3 is that there are various storage classes based on your requirement, based on your need, based on your pricing requirements. So there are various storage classes. I'll explain what a storage class is. So you may have a use case where as soon as I put the data, as soon as I put a document in S3, I want that to be available to, I want this document that I'm storing it in S3, it should be immediately accessible or frequently accessible. That's what I wanted to say. So it is so frequently accessible that I need it in milliseconds. Okay. I want my first byte to be available in milliseconds. If you have a requirement like that, you have a storage tier there. But if you say that I'm going to store my videos, 20 years back videos, just as an archival, or I'm storing my monthly statements just for the tax compliance reasons, I need to keep it for 5 years. Okay. I don't want to pay expensive, I don't want to pay a high price, but rather when I need it, it's purely for archival purposes, but when I need it, I will be able to retrieve it. As long as I can retrieve it within 12 hours, I'm okay. If you have that kind of requirements, but I want to pay least amount of price for that. If you have a requirement for that, you have a storage tier, you're going with the archival. So you have a various use cases. I'll show you all the storage classes out there, and you have a powerful REST API to store and get the files. And by the way, S3 supports versioning, and there is something called lifecycle management, and it supports encryption at rest also. We'll talk about that. So all these objects are stored in something called bucket. S3 calls it a bucket. Bucket, you can view this bucket as a folder in the cloud. Okay, these buckets are supposed to be, bucket names are supposed to be globally unique. So let's say I have a bucket name called Venkat. So if you try to create a bucket name with the same name, Amazon doesn't allow you to do that. It's not per account, it's across all the accounts. They must be globally unique because it's going to give you a unique DNS name. Okay, because it's giving you a dedicated DNS name. See, when you create a bucket, this is how it looks. Because as I told you, it provides powerful REST APIs. You can use your Java or C# code to store the objects or to retrieve these objects from S3, right? So take a look at this one. Your bucket name .s3 your region. Our Ohio is US East 2, Virginia US East 1, right? So your bucket name .s3.region.amazonaws.com. This is the DNS that it's going to give you. But of course, you can map it to your Route 53 if you like, right? So let's take a look at your all the storage classes. So the first one is S3 standard. It's a standard storage class. You will get first byte in milliseconds and highly available. Okay, and there is another storage called intelligent tiering. So this intelligent tiering, based on your usage patterns using machine learning and artificial intelligence, it will change between a couple of tiers. There is another tier here called S3 standard infrequently access. If your files are infrequently accessed, please store them in S3 standard infrequently access. If you need it only once a day or once a week, okay, please store them in S3 standard IA storage tier to save some money. So this is the expensive one. S3 standard is the expensive one. What intelligent tiering does is, based on your usage patterns, it will switch between S3 standard and standard IA. If your files are not used regularly, if your files are not read regularly, then it will move them into S3 standard IA. Behind the scenes, it does it if you use intelligent tiering. So there is another storage tier here called one zone infrequently access. So it's a one zone. So if it's even cheaper. So S3 standard is a most expensive one. After that, intelligent tiering, a little bit cheaper. Standard infrequently access is even a little bit cheaper. And you have this one zone IA, meaning one availability zone. So your objects will not be replicated across multiple availability zones. So what happens here? What do you lose here? You will have a less availability, because what happens, that single availability zone is down. Let's say that single availability zone or single data center happens to be in Cleveland, Ohio, and then if there is a power cut in Cleveland, Ohio, what happens? So you will be losing the availability for that period. So, but you are saving money there, right? It's much cheaper. If you have a use case, where it's okay, and if it's down, in the case of unforeseen circumstances, then go for OneZone IA and save some money there. So these 4 are the standard storage classes. But now we have a couple more for your archival needs. So your S3 Glacier is your archival needs. So if you want to store it for long term for compliance reasons, and then when you need an object, it's okay. You will not be able to retrieve the object within milliseconds, but within a couple of hours. It's okay. I'm storing my tax documents, my employees' tax documents, or my customers' tax documents in S3 Glacier. So if IRS ever asks, ever asks for any details on it, at that time I would retrieve it. When I need it, it's okay. I can wait for a couple of hours. In that case, then you go for S3 Glacier. So S3 Glacier Deep Archive is the cheapest archival option out there between these two. Deep Archive is you will have to wait up to 12 hours to get your objects when you need it. So your objects are not available for you to read immediately. That's your Deep Archive. So these are your storage classes. These 2 are your archival storage classes. These 4 are for your regular needs. So please use, as an architect, understand what your business needs are, and then design your system in such a way that take advantage of any of this or all of it. Let's say, I want to throw a use case there. Let's say you're building a photo album based website. So you are storing a high resolution pictures in standard, let's say S3 standard, yeah? Because you want them to be infrequently accessed. They are very highly frequently accessed. So you want to store them in S3 standard. I understand it's expensive, right? So now you have these thumbnails, right? You can create these small icons, thumbnails. These thumbnails can be generated anytime if you have the original picture. So you can easily store those thumbnails in OneZone IA and save some money. Because what happens if that one availability zone is down? Well, it's okay. You have the source anyway. From source, you will be able to create thumbnails. So as an architect, try to understand these storage classes and look at it, okay? So this is how it looks, guys. These are all the storage classes. See it? So S3 standard being the most expensive one here. So everybody gives the 11/9 durability. I want you to understand that. So when a file is stored, it doesn't matter where it is. It will be there for you. It will be there for you. Even if one availability zone is down for whatever the disaster reasons, but still your file will be stored across multiple availability zones. Okay, so your durability will always be 11/9. So you will never lose the file. So designed for availability, understand the availability means if one availability zone is down, are you still able to interact with your S3? Are you able to read the files? Are you able to store the files? Yeah. So this guy is designed for 99.99%. See the availability. And intelligent tiering is 99.9%. Your standard infrequently access is 99.9%. And your OneZone IA is designed for 99.5%. Obviously, they can't give more SLA than that, because what happens if one availability zone is down? Right? They need to have some time to bring their availability zone up. So S3 Glacier will give you 99.99% and Deep Archive is 99.99%. So this is how it's designed for. But for your Amazon is signing up a service level agreement like this. So your standard is 99.9, intelligent hearing is 99, IA is 99, one zone IA is 99, your Glacier and Deep Archive are 99. And look at this one, availability zones. Your S3 standard, it stores in at least 3 availability zones, meaning when you store your picture, it will be stored at least in 3 data centers. That's what Amazon is saying. So even if 2 availability zones are down, you'll be able to access your file anytime. That's the beauty with it. S3 standard, intelligent hearing, even standard infrequently access. But with one zone IA, because you are paying less, so it is only storing it in one availability zone. That's why this is number 1. And Glacier and Deep Archive, they say it's stored more than 3 locations. So minimum capacity charge per object. So when I store an object like a 5 KB object, what happens here in S3 standard and intelligent storing, intelligent hearing? I'll be charged based on my object size. But S3 standard infrequently access, they charge you the minimum of 128 KB. Even my file size is 5 KB. They'll charge you for 128 KB. Same case with one zone IA. Glacier and Deep Archive, they'll charge you at 40 KB, minimum capacity charge. Yeah. And also minimum storage duration. So if you store something in standard, I can, let's say I stored my picture in standard tier and then deleted after 5 minutes. I'm only paying for those many megabytes for that 5 minutes only. Okay. But if I store something in intelligent hearing, I'll be paying for 30 days. IA, standard IA, 30 days. Your one zone IA, 30 days. Your Glacier and Deep Archive, the Glacier, you will have to pay for 90 days because these are archival reasons, right? Deep Archive, if you have a use case where you must keep it at least for 180 because you're paying it anyway for 180 days if you're using Deep Archive. Okay. And retrieval fees. So there is no retrieval fee for these guys, but when you try to retrieve from your infrequently accessed, there is a fee per gig. Same thing with all of this. And first byte latency, when you need it, how quickly can you get it? You can get it in milliseconds, all of this. But Glacier, it can go up to select minutes or hours. Glacier Deep Archive, it could go up to 12 hours also. So when you need your tax returns that you stored it in Deep Archive, you make a request and it's available after 6 hours or 12 hours. Make sense? Your storage type, of course, it's object storage type and lifecycle transitions are there. We'll talk about what the lifecycle is. Why am I spending this much time on this one? I mean, you can definitely learn all of this as you do it, right? The reason is it's kind of expected in the exam. So there are a lot of questions you can expect around this picture here. At least 1 or 2 questions you can expect, maybe if not a lot. Okay. So understand that being an architect, because if you can definitely architect it bad and cost your company a lot of money. So you will have to choose your storage tiers carefully so that you're not paying lump sum. So another couple of items here before we get into the actual use cases and start the lab. So S3, minimum size of an object size is 0 bytes. So you can upload an empty size file. I wanted to know that. This is a little tricky question. It could come up in the exam. And the maximum size of a single object is 5 terabytes. And S3, when you go to S3 in your AWS Management Console, it changes from your region to global. So you'll think that when you create a bucket, maybe you may be thinking that, hey, my bucket will be created across all the regions. No, your bucket, whatever the files that you are storing inside your bucket, they are region specific. Your S3 is very, very region specific. Okay. So if you create a bucket in Ohio region, that's available only in Ohio region, period. Of course, it has the REST APIs. You'll be able to access it all over the globe from anywhere. But it's going to be stored in greater than or equal to 3 availability zones within Ohio region. I want you to understand that. The reason they change it to global as soon as you move it to S3 is because S3 bucket names are global. Across all the regions, across all the accounts, your bucket name must be unique. Understand that. We'll talk about versioning, but let's go ahead and create a simple upload a simple file into S3. So let's go ahead and log into Amazon AWS Management Console and go to services here, and under storage, the first one is S3. Go to S3. Am I having internet issues? Okay, so I'm logged into AWS Management Console, a different browser. Go to services, S3. Okay, this is how S3 looks like. Okay, the first thing that you want to do is, see here, as soon as I selected S3, it changed to global here. Okay, so click on create a bucket. So the first thing that you want to do when you're playing with S3 is to create a bucket. So bucket is nothing but a folder in the cloud. So let's say I'm looking for a bucket name called Venkat in Ohio region. I'm trying to create this one. Yeah. It says bucket name already exists. Maybe someone else used it in some other region, somewhere in the world. It's supposed to be unique across all the accounts. So let's say Venkat personal. Bucket name must not run with a dash. Let's see. Okay, looks like that bucket name is available. I took it. Now, once bucket creation is successful, try creating the same bucket name. You'll not be able to do it. Anyways, so let's move forward. You can enable your versioning, service access logging, tags, all of it. We will take a look at it. But I'm keeping it simple to start with. Click on next. And here, by default, you're blocking public access. Nobody will be able to view the objects inside a bucket. So bucket and the files that you store inside a bucket are called objects. So these are the two terms that you want to understand. So block all public access. By default, that is how it is. If you want to give access to others, you can uncheck this one. Okay. I know it's saying that disabling block all public access may result in this bucket and the objects within becoming public. So yes. So once you uncheck this one, potentially this bucket objects could be public. If you check this box, then all the objects within this bucket are protected. Okay. I'm okay. Either way, I'm not a big deal. So let's keep it block all public access. I'm going to show you how to enable or disable it. Once the bucket is created, leave the defaults, create bucket. So I created this Venkat Personal 2020 in bucket. Okay, this is access and in Ohio region. Make sense? So now take a look at this one, bucket and objects not public. Well, you can change them. Once the bucket is created, so select your bucket, edit public access settings, and then remove this guy, and then save it. Confirm. That's it. Now, this bucket could be public. Again, you will have opportunity to play with the settings at the object level. This is at the bucket level. So you created a folder. Let's click on the folder at the bucket. So please use the S3 terminology from here onwards. S3 bucket and objects. Yeah. So let's go ahead and upload a file. Let's see if I have any files there on desktop. Let's say AWS training. Okay, whatever the document is. Click on next. So this is me. Now it is saying who can manage, who can view this user, who can read or write this particular file. Yeah. So by default, this is the bucket owner. I can do that. And if you want to give someone else access, you can add their account here. I don't need to do that, but manage public permissions. If you want to give access to this particular file, public access, you can actually select and grant public read access. You can do this. I'm going to show you another way. Click on next. And then this is where you will select your standard, your storage tier. Okay. Where are you going to store it? How are you going to store it? Is it a standard, frequently accessed stuff? Or do you want intelligent tiering? Intelligent tiering, it will switch between standard and standard IA. Or if you want to save some money and put it in one zone IA, but the minimum capacity is, minimum billable object size is 128 KB. I want you to understand that. So this particular file could be 5 KB, but I'll be charged for 128 KB. So I'll go with the standard one. Next is encryption. I don't need encryption. I can use encryption at rest. There are a couple of ways you can do it. We'll talk about that later. Click on next, and that's it. I'm storing this particular file in a standard storage class. Upload. My text file is uploaded, aws_training.txt file. Click on it. And then this is the URL. Take a look at this one. My bucket name .s3.regionname.amazonaws.com. That is the bucket URL. And / every object has key. Go to the overview. See this one here? Every object has something called a key. This key is nothing but your file name, aws_training.txt. So your bucket URL / your key, that will give you the object URL. So click on this guy. Access denied. Why? Because I did not give public access to this particular file. So what I will do is I'll go to permissions, or I can actually, in overview, I can simply click on this make public. Now it's publicly available. Now click on this guy. There you go. So this particular file is there. Make sense?
Yeah. Could you show the upload once more?
Absolutely. So we can upload one more file. Click on upload, add files.
Okay. No, how did you come to the upload screen?
Oh, go to Amazon S3, click on your bucket name, and then upload.
Okay. Thank you.
Add files. Let's say I have any index.html. I can show you that. So if I don't need to change anything, I can do it next, or I can simply click on it. By default, it will store it in standard tier. Just click on upload. That's it. So click on this object itself. Go to properties. So we can take a look at the storage class. So this is stored in standard right now. You can change your storage tier. Okay. and we'll talk about other stuff a little later. Go to permission here, and then if you want to give access to someone else, you can use this access for other AWS accounts. Okay, if you want to share with my friend, I'll just say add account, and I'll add his email address, and I'll be able to share with him.
Okay, one question here. That is, see, you said that if it's not given public access, then you won't be able to see it from the website. But as the owner, you have your own private access, right? So how would you see that?
As the owner?
Yeah, because somebody who owns it, he should be able to see that, right? Regardless of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as an owner, you make your own REST API call and get it. Because this one here, when I click on it, I'm not sending my credentials or anything. I'm making a public API call. See that? I'm not sending in my headers. I'm not passing any of the details here. I'm just making a call like how you are doing it. So what you have to do is, I'm going to show you a couple of ways to interact with S3. Okay. In all those areas, you'll be able to get it. I'm going to show you. Just wait for 30 minutes or so. Okay. So this is the object URL, and obviously access denied. You can make it public or go to, make public. Actually go to permissions, and here you can give public access also. Okay, everybody will be able to read access. Go to overview, click on this link. Now you'll be able to see this. Okay. So that's about creating a bucket and uploading the objects to the bucket.
Venkat, one question.
Yes.
On when you created this bucket, you were on the global, but it created it on Ohio. How that happened? Like, are you able to choose Ohio?
Yes. When I create a bucket, see here, region is Ohio.
Oh, okay.
If I want to create, let's say, I want to create, let's say in Mumbai region, right? Asia Pacific Mumbai, then I'll be able to create it. Looks like that's available. You can take it in Mumbai region. Now that particular bucket will be stored in Mumbai region. Make sense?
Yeah, but the name will be, they will check for global, right? If
Absolutely.
That name, okay.
Absolutely. That's not region specific. That is exact reason why this guy is changed here to global.
Okay, thank
you. So your names, your bucket names are not region specific. Bucket names are not account specific. Bucket names are global across all the accounts in the world.
Venkat?
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the access is always read-only access, or can we grant even write access also to other users?
You can. Absolutely, you can.
Okay.
Okay, now another thing is, see, availability zone that we saw in our previous lectures. So that doesn't figure here as a fact.
Okay, good question, Sean. So Shovan's question is, how would availability zones come into picture here? Availability zones, they do not come into the picture of S3 directly, because as this tier sheet said, when I just uploaded a file, okay, using standard S3 standard tier, it automatically wrote it in at least 3 availability zones. It automatically uploaded in at least 3 availability zones. When you retrieve it, it may be retrieving a copy from availability zone 2A or 2B or 2C. You wouldn't know. Does that make sense?
That means you're not able to pick it, right?
Control over what availability zones it should go to, or any of that. And you don't want to control, in all fairness. Make sense? Go ahead. Someone has question.
Is this number greater than or equal to 3? Because at least every zone has, every region has at least 3 availability.
That is correct. That is correct. Every region has at least 3 availability zones, and that's why. Of course, like Virginia, Northern Virginia has 6 availability zones. Make sense? Go to permissions and public access. See this one, Ramesh? Here, read object permission, write object permissions. You can, this is a public one, and actually you can completely give access to someone else, you know. And we will be talking later today, the best way to grant or revoke access using something called bucket policies. We'll be talking about it, Ramesh. I'm going to show you how to do that.
Okay.
So when you say these permissions, these are all exclusively for this particular file only, right?
You got it. Yeah. So that's a good, let's zoom into that. Let's zoom into that particular topic. So when we talk about permissions, you have a permissions that you can control at the bucket level, and you can also control at the object level. I want you to understand that. So at the bucket level, if I make this edit public access, if I had blocked it, then all the objects within that bucket, you will not be able to make them public. Does it make sense? And also you can, the beauty with S3 is that it's not a simple, you're like a Dropbox, like, I mean, of course, Dropbox. Oh, by the way, maybe I did not mention it. Dropbox application was built completely on S3 for more than 7-8 years. They recently moved to their own data center. Okay. So the Dropbox Dropbox inventor, that guy, he was going to college and then using these USB flash drives and then storing his files, you know, PowerPoint presentations, etc., storing it in flash drives, losing the flash drives, all of it. He got so frustrated. And then he thought, okay, you know, I'm going to write something on top of it. So what he did is underlying technology is S3. Okay. So X3 exposes all the RESTful APIs. All he did was just built a simple web application on top of it. That's all he did. Underlying, it's all S3. He was using it. He was using all these, tiers intelligently, managing the life cycle, moving from one storage tier to another storage tier just to save some money and all. That's it. That's exactly how he was doing it. Later on, after 8 years or so, just last 2 years, 2 years back, he moved to his own data center now. They're not on Amazon. They're completely on a different data center now. Their own data center.
Okay, is that faster now? Has it become faster? Before I used to use that, it was real slow.
Can you say that again?
The box used to be very slow, like file transfer to the box, like moving file to the box and pulling out of it. It used to be very slow.
Oh, I don't know. I just wanted to put in, just okay. Mention as an anecdote, that's all. Okay. I don't know much about it.
And another thing is, see, when you mentioned about writing an API for really doing that, is that with Spring Batch or something?
Yeah, yes, we will see that. We will see that.
Okay.
In the next couple of hours or an hour or so. So this is most basic S3 stuff, right? And I want you to understand S3 is not like your Google Drive. It is 1,000 times more powerful than that. You will be able to provide permissions, very granular level permissions, or highest level permissions. You can do it at the object level. You can do it at the bucket level. there's something called bucket policies. Okay, you can write something called policy document. It's a simple JSON document, and then it will, there you can show who all can access it, or people with this particular role will be able to access it. You can tie this one very nicely with another service, AWS service called Identity and Access Management, IAM. There is another service there. Okay, so before we deep dive on any of that, does that make sense? A simple stuff. So what I wanted to show you is, if that makes sense, I wanted to show you versioning. Sure, we'll start with versioning. So what I wanted to show you is, so click on your bucket and then go to management. Okay, actually this is where I wanted to show you the lifecycle management. We'll get to the lifecycle management in a second, but let's go to properties and let's select the versioning first. So currently we suspend the versioning by default. That's what we selected during the creation of the bucket. I want to enable versioning. So by enabling versioning, what happens is I have this file index.html, right? So like your source code repository, but source code repository will only store, it will actually look at your differences, and then it will only store the differences, right? But here what it does is, let's say I have my index.html and I made some changes and I upload index.html. So it will upload both, it will keep both versions of index.html. Once you have the versioning enabled, it will keep both of them and you will be charged for both versions of it. So please use versioning carefully. Being an architect, think about it. Do I need versioning for this one? If so, because you'll be paying for both of them. So I'm going to show you how it works. And then even when you delete an object, you are not physically delete that particular object. You are actually put a simple delete marker to that. So index.html, we got it, right? So what we'll do is, let's open that guy. Let's open that index.html. Or I'll create a new file. I'll just create version 1. This is version 1. My file. Wonderful. So in the start, version 1 version.txt. Yeah. So let's upload this guy. Let's go ahead and upload it. And let's make this guy public. Let's go ahead and take a look at it first. This is version 1 of my file. Makes sense, right? So now what we'll do is, and by the way, version 1 has been made public by me. Now, same version, I'm changing it. I'm calling it, this is version 2 of my file. I'll go to my bucket. I upload the same file again, but this time I changed the content. I have uploaded it. So now go take a look at this one. I tried accessing my version.txt. It's saying access denied. Why? Because the same file name, an object with the same key, essentially key is nothing but your file name, right? So has been uploaded, and then this has not been made public. So what I'll do is I'll go into this guy and then I'll make him public, and then this is version 2 of my file. Okay, no magic, we got it. So see here, versions, hide or show. So I wanted to show the versions now. Now take a look at this version.txt file. So this is every time, once you have the versioning enabled for your bucket, when you upload a file, you will automatically get this attribute called version ID and attach to this one. So this one, I uploaded it 90452. I can click on this guy. Now take a look at the URL carefully. So your bucket URL / version.txt, this is my file name, question mark, your version ID equal to that version ID. Click on it. This is version 1 of my file. So the first version has been made public. Okay. And now actually we made the second one also made public. So this is the latest version, by the way. See this one? It is clearly telling you, click on this guy and then take a look at this one. So your bucket URL / your object URL. This is the complete object URL, question mark, version ID equal to, you are asking for a specific version of that particular file. So this is your full object, right? Now go to something like Postman, do a HTTP GET, like how your browser does. You're getting it. This is version 2 of your file. This is your simple HTTP GET, right? REST endpoints. Your bucket URL / version URL, and then asking for a specific version, because all of your searches will go into as a request parameters like this. Does that make sense? So now what I want to do is this version.txt file, I'll go ahead and do a delete. Let me go ahead and delete it. Now what happens? It's gone. My file is gone, right? Click on show the versions. Now take a look at this one. So you have your original version 1 and version 2. And then all it did is it applied a delete marker. That is why that file was not shown. It just applied a delete marker, but the physical file has not been deleted from your bucket. I want you to understand that. Once you have a versioning enabled, when you delete a file, it just applies a delete marker to that. But physically, it exists. So you will be charged for 28 bytes for this one and another 28 bytes for this one. So you will be charged for both of them. And the file is not physically deleted. So if I delete my delete marker itself, I can delete my delete marker itself. There you go. Now my latest version is back. You can hide the versions. You got this is my latest version. If you want to go to the latest version, you can use your bucket URL / your object key. It will automatically get the latest version of it. If you want a specific version, put your query string parameter, question mark, version ID equal to a specific version ID. You'll get your version 2. It's not really been resurrected. I don't want to use that term because it's physically has not been deleted. It just applied a simple delete marker there.
So how will you really delete it?
Can you say that again?
How will you really delete it? See, this was a pseudo delete, let's say. But how will you really delete that physically?
Oh, how will you physically delete it?
Mm-hmm.
Just delete from the version itself. Completely. So let's go. Delete that specific version of the object, right? Go to your bucket, click on this guy, and then sorry. Let's go there. No. Click on versions now. Did you see that? So the version 2 is gone. So because I picked a specific version of the file and then deleted it, now it's gone. And your version 1 became your version 1 became your latest version. Does that make sense? Did you guys understand that? Everybody?
Okay, so you deleted a certain version, but if you want to delete the entire file with all its versions,
Oh,
is that
there is, you have to do it you have to delete all versions of it. Okay.
each of it?
Absolutely.
One by one.
Click on show versions here. And then, because each guy is a separate file, I want you to understand that.
Yeah, I got it.
And they have the same object key, but they have an additional attribute called version ID. Every guy, let's say you have 100 versions of it, the same file, everybody has the same object key, but everyone has a different version ID. So delete them with that version ID. So let me go ahead and delete this guy. This specific version, gone. Understood? So, but when you delete a specific file, okay, without the version, you are only applying the delete marker on it. I want you to understand that, because it's very important as an architect for you to understand, so that you can, when requirement comes, you'll be able to solution it better based on your problem domain. Make sense, guys? That's about versioning. Not a big deal, but I wanted to show you guys. Let's take a look at my notes here. When versioning is enabled, you can retrieve and restore every version of every object. Yeah. Automatically generates a unique version ID. As I showed it to you, when you upload an object, it automatically generates a unique version ID and attach it to that particular object. When version object is deleted, it is marked for deletion. If you physically want to delete it, you have to delete the along with the version ID, then it's physically gone at that time. Does it make sense? Be cognizant of cost with versioning. Yes, especially being an architect, you must understand that. Am I making sense there? Okay, so I wanted to show you one more fancy option with S3. So you guys want to do your own personal websites. All of you here, you bought your domains from Route 53, Amazon's Route 53. And so far you have seen how to link them, or how to provide an IP address of EC2 instance in your Route 53. Now, I wanted to show you how to create a serverless static website using S3. S3 is much more powerful than your OneDrive or other Google Drive. I want you to understand that. It's not just a simple object store. It's okay. If your business, let's say you have a restaurant business and you have just static pages, right? One way to skin that cat is you have your EC2 instance, Apache, run your Apache, and then dump all of your CSS file images, all of that into your document root var www.html, and then spin up, bring your restaurant website with menus and all the pictures and everything. Okay, and now what happens? What happens if the EC2 instance is down? Your website will be down. So as an architect, you are thinking about it. Okay, I need I need to take care of my availability. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll spin up a couple more EC2 instances and spread them across multiple availability zones. Makes sense. What if my traffic goes above certain limit? Okay, then you will talk about the auto scaling group and put an ALB in the front as a front door, and you create an auto scaling group and you create your policies, and then say that when per server requests, if one particular server, if each target takes more than 25 requests, then please create a new EC2 instance and add it to the application load balancer. You do that as an architect. Think about it. But I want you to understand one thing here. Your website is static. When you have a static website and when you don't know when you don't want to exclusively care about your availability and scalability needs, my website might get 10 concurrent requests or 100 million concurrent requests. I want my website to scale infinitely without me having to worry about the servers. And my website is static. I want you to underline that. It works only with a static website, and you can use your S3 bucket as your static website. That is the beauty. All of your personal websites, you can convert them into S3 static websites. So I'm going to show you. So click on this bucket. How do you do that? Well, go to properties and click on the static website hosting. See this one? And this is the default DNS name it's going to give you. Your bucket name, this is your bucket name. Sorry, this is your bucket name dot s3-website dot region.amazonaws.com. This is the default DNS that it's going to give you. And by the way, that's exactly why they wanted to make your bucket name to be globally unique, because they wanted to give you a DNS name. Of course, this is not going to be a permanent DNS name because you don't want anyone to type this long. Of course, you want everyone to go to venkathari.com, let's say, or nextstep.training, right? So you want them to go here. So what service do you use it? Route 53. In Route 53, you can say that this is your static website and S3 bucket, you'll put it there. So you can use your S3 website and point it in your Route 53. Make sense? So click on your static website hosting and then use this bucket to host a website. And then what do you want your index document to be? Meaning your home page. Is that going to be index.html, or is that going to be hello.html, or is it going to be venkat.html? It doesn't matter. So I'm going to call this as index.html only. And then if something goes wrong with your website, if someone tries to access hello.html that does not exist, what kind of information do you want me to show? Is there an HTML page? Is there an error HTML page that you want me to display? You can take it to error.html. Then this HTML page will be displayed when things go south. Make sense? That's it. Save it. And click on static website hosting now. This must be your website. There you go. And how did I get it? Because I already uploaded index.html into my bucket. Let's go back. Take a look at this. This is my bucket. My index.html is there. Click on the index.html. Yep, my static website is there. And now this is my website. My bucket name dot, in fact, I'm not sure if AWS in the certification, if they're asking now. In my recent certification, I did not find it, but a couple of years back when I took my architect certification, they actually showed, they were asking this as a question. Hey, I created a static website hosting. What will be my website? So they expect you to remember this, your bucket name dot s3website dot region.amazonaws.com. That I felt silly, in all fairness, But that's what it is. I'm not sure. You could get it or you may not get it, but I wanted to mention that. That's your static website hosting, guys. And this is your S3 bucket, right? You're using your S3 bucket as a static website hosting. Now, go to your Route 53, go to services, Route 53, and I have my website there, my hosted zone. nextsteptraining.com, click on it. This is my hosted zone. And this is currently pointing to nothing. Oh, this is currently pointing to this elastic load balancer here. So I want to change it. So nextsteptraining.com has a record that is pointing to elastic load balancer that does not even exist now. So what I wanted to do is I want to edit this guy. So nextsteptraining.com, and I want alias to application load balancer. So I want to completely this guy. I do not want alias to application and classic load balancer. I want to now go to S3, alias to S3 website endpoint, and choose a region. Where is my website in? Where is my S3 bucket? Is in Ohio. Choose my bucket. Where is my bucket? S3 website endpoint, US East Ohio. Choose an S3 bucket. It should have been. You don't have to do this. Actually, it should automatically populate. Let's take a look at it. Okay, that's interesting. US East 2, and this is my bucket. You know what I'm thinking is it should have automatically populated all the options, S3 website, alias to S3 website endpoint. Let's make sure our bucket, yep, it is in US East Ohio. So let's go to Route 53. Let's make sure the settings are good. Okay. So alias to S3 website endpoint, absolutely. That's my S3. And in this region, yeah, okay. I was, no resources found that choose S3 bucket. That actually surprised me. That's where I'm. Let's refresh this guy. I'm sorry, I was muting people. Edit. Hey, Bhaskar, can you go on mute? Can you say that again? Now let's go check our nextsteptraining.com. Nope, obviously it's broken. Makes sense. Because my DNS record is not updated. So let's do a DNS propagation check, DNS checker. nextsteptraining.com. click on a record. Okay, it's not available. Makes sense. Okay, because this guy itself here. Let me do delete a record. You understand what I'm trying to do here? Create a record, simple routing, sure. Click on next. Define simple record, next up training.com. So alias to S3 website endpoint, choose region, Ohio.
That was different from before.
Yeah,
The
because
alias was different.
alias to S3 website endpoint. So the changes that we made S3, they are not reflected here. That's what, okay, what we'll do is, let's go ahead and create a brand new bucket.
Is there something with the S3 bucket properties that you have to do?
We made S3 bucket website hosting already. We made S3 website hosting.
Any public access settings at the hosting area?
Yeah,
Anything?
I'm thinking, actually, this S3 website hosting, when the static website, every single static website hosting should have a bucket policy. I know I didn't talk about bucket policy. Every static website hosting should have a bucket policy to automatically make every single object public. Okay. So what I will, but interestingly, it's, this guy's working, but it's not treating as a website hosting. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a new bucket. Why is it not coming up? It's bothering me. Okay. Properties, static website is okay. So let's do this. Okay. This is my static website. So at this point, I'll get back to this this Route 53. Okay. So let's get back to this Route 53 with a different perspective. So let's talk about this S3 static website hosting itself for a couple more minutes. So you understand the static website hosting. The static website hosting is essentially infinitely scalable website. So you don't have to worry about the servers. Okay, you dump all of your HTML pages, CSS files, and images, everything. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you my personal stuff also. So I have, I used to have this company called, I still have it, the sonicvisionllc.com. So this one was completely hosted using S3 static website hosting. Okay, so all of your static websites, you can, I'm not sure what happened there, but the point is your S3 static website is an infinitely scalable service. So you don't have to worry about servers. You don't have to worry about, ALBs. You don't have to worry about auto scaling group. You don't have to worry about any of that. Okay. It will infinitely scale. So it can handle 10 requests per hour or 10 million requests per hour magically, and you don't have to worry about it. So that's the beauty with your static website hosting. So, but let's talk about any static website for that matter. So every single web page in your static website must be available to every single person, right? Do you guys agree? If you have a static website, every single HTML page and every single image should be visible to everyone in the globe. Do you guys agree? So to make that possible, what you have to do is you have to change your something called bucket level policies, because currently we have these couple of files here, and these couple of files, we made them explicitly, we made them public. But if I drop venkat.html or some other HTML, index2.html, it should be made automatically be public because of the static website nature. Agree? So how can I do that? So that's where the concept of bucket policies come into picture. So for your static websites, every single object must be public as soon as you upload it. Understand that for a second. You know, let's say you have an Apache and all of your HTML documents are available. They're available to everyone in the world, right? So what I wanted to do is, let's go to permissions and click on this bucket policy. Okay. So bucket policy, S3 bucket policy is nothing but a simple JSON file that will give access to everyone. So you can put any kind of logics there. You can say that I'm giving public access to these people and I'm giving private access to these people having these roles. You can generate your bucket policies. Okay. So what I wanted to do is, my goal here is that since I'm using this website, since I'm using this S3 bucket as my static website, I wanted to update my bucket policy to match that. So I want to update my bucket policy in such a way that every single object in this bucket is public. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and do that. So if you have a JSON file, you can copy paste it here, or you can go to the documentation, you can read it and get the policy document, or you can click on this policy generator here and it takes you to this web page. Select type of policy, S3 bucket policy, effect, allow. So who do you want to principal? I want to allow everybody. Okay. And then AWS service S3 actions. Well, now let's go down. There is a get object method is what we wanted to see. This one, get object. So we wanted to allow get object to every single principal on this particular bucket. So every bucket, or as a matter of fact, every single resource within AWS will have something called ARN, Amazon resource name. Okay. So let's go to our bucket, click on S3, this guy, and then go to properties, go to permissions. Where is my bucket policy? See this one here, bucket policy editor. This is my ARN. So click on add statement, and this is what it says. Now click on generate policy. Take a look at this one here. So in fact, take a look at, this is a simple JSON file, right? So this is my policy ID. This is my version. Statement is statement ID. Action is S3 get object. Effect is allow and resource to this particular guy. And resource, actually, if you really look at it, it's a /star. Let's start, meaning every single object in this particular resource. Okay, every single object within this bucket, I want to make it everyone. So every single object on this particular bucket is allowed. The S3 get object method is allowed to every single person. Copy, go to this guy and paste it. That's it. Save it. There you go. This bucket has public access. Now, this is what is actually lacking. Okay, now let's go and properties, static website hosting, and click on this guy. It's working before also because that specific file has it. Now take a look at this permission here. Permissions is public. So this particular bucket has public access now. Every single object has public access. I wanted to show you now. So upload a new file here. Upload a new file here. Let's say finance details are today. Let's upload it. And then click on today, click on this guy. See that? Did you guys see that? So my today file, today.txt file was automatically made public. Earlier, that was not the case because I have a bucket policy that says that every single object in the bucket is public, is automatically made public. Now that is what we needed for our static website hosting. Okay. And that is what actually is the reason I think why Route 53 did not show up there. Let's go prove our theory here. Let's create a new record. Simple routing, next. Define simple record, okay. Choose S3 website hosting, region, Ohio. S3 bucket, oh, I missed something. I was so silly, guys. Sorry, I apologize for the last few minutes of time waste. Okay, so I talked about the bucket policy. Bucket policy is all good. So one fundamental point, if you want to attach your S3 static website to your Route 53, the fundamental point is you have to have the bucket name exactly same as your website name. That is the fundamental thing. I apologize. I don't understand how I missed it. So your bucket name, if you are working on a website, let's say myrestaurant.com, make sure, first of all, go to Route 53 and select your domain. Make sure the domain is available. And then go to S3 and make sure your bucket name is available with the same name, including .com, including your top level domain name. See this one? Your bucket name must be nextsteptraining.com. In fact, that is the reason why it did not work.
Venkat, it may not be available, right? I mean, somebody might have created a record.
No, I think it will be available because I bought the domain name, right?
What the domain I'm talking about?
No. Let's step back here. Route 53, Kiran is right here. So Route 53, this is my Route 53, right? I have a hosted zone. So nextsteptraining.com domain is available. Does it mean my S3 bucket is available? Tell me, do you think, nextsteptraining.com bucket name, let's say Pradyumna has taken it, okay? Go ahead and take it. And obviously it's not available for me. So what my point is, if you want to use your static website hosting as your real website, please make sure that the bucket name is available. It must match only then your Route 53 works. And it makes sense, right?
Venkat, in that
Yes.
case, I want something with as a hosted website with some name that is available with the .com. But if the bucket name is not available, which I don't like that name, so whatever the name that is available, how can we map that one?
You cannot. That's my point.
That's
You cannot.
right.
Simple. You're unfortunately you cannot. So your bucket name, that's the
Like a
most
drawback, right? In that case.
say that.
This is like a drawback, right? So if we cannot map this one, whatever the bucket
See,
name,
you are using your S3 bucket hosting, right? You are using your S3 bucket as your website, Ram.
okay.
Right? This is your DNS name, your Route 53. You want to use your S3 bucket. So if you want it, go from the bucket name. Make sure that bucket name is available. Okay. If you're looking at Ram's restaurant or something, right? So let's say ramsrestaurant.com. If you please make sure the bucket name is available and your Route 53, your domain name is available. Please make sure.
I have one different question. I'm in the same lines.
Yep.
So why someone would like to have a bucket that is not associated with the domain?
Good point. So why will I have a bucket that is not associated with the domain? Absolutely. So let's go to our S3. Venkat Personal 2020. This is my bucket name. Okay. This is my bucket name. And I can safely give this one to anyone. This one, if you are happy with this DNS, Manohar, I can happily, this is my website. This is my website. Are you happy with it? But you may not like all of this one, right? This is not your vanity URL. If you want, vanity URL, obviously you need Route 53. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, the probability is less, but yeah, there is a possibility.
You are attaching your vanity URL to your bucket name because you want to use your bucket name as your fancy website, right? And trust me, there are hundreds of thousands of websites that are built on S3 static website hosting. I want you to know that. My own websites like javavenkat.com and NextStep. Sorry, 1 second. My own websites, my sonicvisionllc.com, all of them are actually static website hosting. So make sure your bucket name matches. So since I cleared that, let's fix it right now. So this is my website, guys. I want my nextsteptraining.com. This is my website, okay? And I want to use S3 static website hosting. I do not want servers. I do not want auto scaling group. I do not want application load balancers. I don't want anything. And I want my website to be scalable infinitely based on the demand. And today I may be getting 5 requests for the whole day. Tomorrow I may be getting 500 million requests the whole day. Magically scale. Use S3. So let's go to S3, create bucket, and then use this name. Bucket name must match with your Route 53 domain name if you want to use your Route 53 domain name. Yeah. And seriously, I missed that. Very good. That's okay. I don't need to kill myself. Anyway, so this is good. Keep all objects and then block all public access. No, I want this to be a grant Amazon. Sorry. No, this is not what I meant. I wanted to turn this off. And then yes, I acknowledge this is a public access because this is a static website. Very good, guys. Nextsteptraining.com. Okay. Now I have my website, but now I want to go to permissions. I want to go to bucket policy and I want to generate a policy. Because I want to do that. I want to make sure that every single object within this bucket is public because that's a key for my static website, right? So I want to allow to every single person and my S3 get object. Ramesh, earlier you asked a question. Does this make sense? Are you
Yes.
realizing how powerful it is?
Yes.
So this is my ARN of the website. See this one, ARN : AWS : S3 : my bucket name. This is my uniquely identified name. This is my Amazon resource name. Every single Amazon resource will be identified by a ARN. So what I'm saying with this, by putting a /*, what I'm saying is every single resource within this ARN, okay. Where is my S3 get object? Oops, actually, I selected it, right? Add statement, generate policy. So what I'm saying is every single object within this ARN, S3 get object method should be allowed to every single principal out there. Does that make sense? Copy, paste it. That's it. Save it. Now it's public. See that? So every single object now, I do not need to make object by object public anymore. Okay. So I made that. So the first point here is that make sure your bucket name matches with your real website name. Okay. With your domain name. Yeah. And then change your bucket policy and make every single object automatically be public. That's number 2. Then go to your properties, go to your static website hosting and make your bucket as a static website hosting. And do you want to call your home page as index.html? Sure. Do you want to call your error page as error.html? Sure. I'm fine with that. Save it. That's it. And now go ahead and upload your web pages here. Add files. Index.html. Just upload it. You don't need to do anything. It's automatically public. I can tell you that because of your bucket policy. Yeah. Click on it. Yep. So now go to properties, go to your, my bucket, go to bucket properties, static website hosting. This is your default DNS name that it's giving. If you do not want to attach that to a Route 53 domain that already exists to you, but if you want to attach it, let's go do it. Go to Route 53. Now the magic happens. Click on hosted zone. Create a record, simple routing, next, define a simple record, S3 bucket and Ohio. There you go. That was the struggle. It must match. And there are no exceptions to it. It's done for a very good reason, right? Because you are attaching you're using your domain as your S3 website hosting. Please select this guide and put a record now. That's it. See that? nextsteptraining.com, a record, S3 website. See this one? It routes traffic to S3 website us2.amazon.aws.com. It automatically magically did it. Now I will go to my DNS propagation and then see what's happening here. There you go. It's already coming up. It's already coming up. Now I will try going to my website, nextsteptraining.com. There you go. My static website. Welcome. And please dump your CSS files, your images, everything you build locally, put it out there. If you have a static websites like your restaurants and other flower shops and all, so do it. And no servers, that's the beauty. No servers, no availability, no auto scaling groups, no application load balancers. You do not have to worry about it, and you will get charged purely based on access. Of course, you'll be charged for your S3 bucket, and if you're using 5 gig for your storage, absolutely you'll be charged. But but you don't have to worry about servers. You don't have to worry about auto scaling group, any of that. So this is the right way to do it for any of the static websites. Make sense, guys? Any questions? It's not such a big deal from the exam perspective. This is just one of the topics, but it's in real life. It's as an architect, if you are building a static website within your own company or outside of it, then use S3 bucket. So it's an infinitely scalable without worrying about any servers. Easiest way to get your static website up and running. Yep. And yes, that was asked one time in the exam. So I wanted to make sure that your bucket name .s3-website.region name.amazonaws.com. That's your static website hosting.
So will they be charged, any objects that are uploaded to S3, will they be charged on the storage basis or the usage basis?
Can you repeat that? Will they charge for the storage or the access? All of your, this one goes your,
Right.
Let me show you. See here. So this is how, if you put it in standard, okay, you'll be charged for your storage. And where is my, see this one, retrieval fees. You don't have a retrieval fees for the standard or intelligent tiering, but you have a retrieval fees for the per gig fees apply here for these guys. Make sense, Pradyumna?
Yes.
Depends on what tier you're using. So I would say if it's a static website and I'm sure you want to use it, right? It's I'm sure you want to use it frequent. It's a frequently accessed stuff. So please go with the standard.
Venkat, the
Yes.
storage class we select for every file that we upload or at bucket level?
Can you repeat the question if you don't mind?
Storage class, the whatever we are standard and all, that we select for every file we upload, or we can select that at bucket level also?
Good, very good point. So storage tier is at the object level, not at the bucket level. So every single object, within the bucket, you can have 5 objects to be stored in standard, and remaining 25, you can store them in Glacier at Glacier Deep Archive. You absolutely can. It's at the object level, not at the bucket level. Okay? But when you do an upload here, and without having to select, just I select some finance details and click on upload. By default, it stores in standard. See here, every object has a storage class. But you can have as many varieties as possible. You absolutely can. Let's say you have placed a video that you're using it for your website, and that's very infrequently accessed. People only go there, once in a while if they want to see how to use my website. Then in that case, throw that particular video in infrequently accessed and save some money. Fair?
Yep.
Excellent. So let me stop here.